Well, Hannah Banana, were you called that? Were you called that in elementary school, Hannah Banana?
Oh
Welcome to the
boy,
show.
was I.
Were
Yes.
you? Is that what
In
people
Hannah,
called you?
Montana.
Yeah, people think we named our dog Montana because of Hannah Montana, and I'm like,
What?
no, we adopted him in the state of Montana, and he is not a singer or a female. He is a very masculine. He's not masculine at all. He's such a little
Puppy
mama's
wuppy.
boy. Yeah, he's a puppy wuppy.
You cute boy.
He is a cute boy. Well, anyway, Hannah Banana, thanks for being here.
I am so honored to be here. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
I'm stoked. We had the pleasure of obviously working together in the past and also hanging out in Seattle. You took Mike and I all around Seattle when we were living in the RV, which was such a blast. It was such a good time.
So
We
fun.
like hijacked you for the whole day and you were our little tour guide and it was amazing. But we
It was
also
good.
have had the pleasure of working together just in some other cool capacities. We had you come in and sort of do an impromptu interview when we were doing the launch of Empower, which is our signature 12-week program. And you came in as an alumni and you were so good. So we
I
were like,
cried.
we have to have you on the show. You're such a good speaker.
Thank you. That was truly so fun. And when I got the email for this podcast from Lauren, I was like, first of all, I am so honored to be here. And second, I was just thinking about that live that we did and how fun it was and how we both were crying at the end. So I'm like, put that waterproof mascara on. Let's get this popping.
All right. Well, let's get into it. So one of the things that I'm really excited to talk about, you are a mindset coach, you're a career coach, you're like how to human, right? You're like a how to human coach. You know, here we are living in the 3D, but we really are just navigating so much in the 5D, the quantum field all the time. And something that I love when you talk about is this idea of like perfectionism and how we get caught in this loop. We're diving in, we're going there. So
going for it.
We get caught in this loop of perfectionism. And I see this happen a lot with our clients and our programs. And of course I do it myself, but I do think over the years, the comeback rate of the perfectionism for me has gotten shorter and I'm able to sort of work through it faster. So just straight up give us some like big hit tips, something. How do we navigate this internal drive and desire that we all have to be perfect when in reality it's totally unattainable and ridiculous and it causes us to paralyze ourselves?
Oh, I love that question. Okay. So the question is, and I feel like I'm in like an actual job interview right now where you have to repeat the question so you don't forget it. So don't forget your question because I could forget it. But yes, where does it come from? What do we need to know? And before I answer that question, I just want to say and highlight the fact that you said my comeback rate is like less than now. And I think that's really, really important with all this mindset stuff, right? Whether we're talking perfectionism, lack of confidence, self-doubt, money mindset, whatever it is, we have those big aha moments and we're like, yes, that is the truth. That is what I now live by. I am healed. I am whole. I am woman or man, whatever it is, or whatever you call yourself. And it's just a bunch of hullabaloo, right? Because it's a bunch of hullabaloo. It's a bunch of BS because we are humans. And I say, like, I specialize in human stuff. We are humans that have been practicing these crappy thought patterns for so long. So if you're on the other end and you're like me and Jess, where you are working on your perfectionism, maybe you have been for a long time, maybe you're new to this, but that's exactly what we're trying to do. What Jess said, lessen the comeback rate. And that happens over time. And I'll even say that if you're listening to this, what about just focusing on noticing the perfectionism and pivoting away from it? Like, honestly, who cares about the comeback rate? That will take care of itself. So noticing the perfectionism when it comes up and then pivoting away from it with a new action, or an inaction, if you will, like stop doing the old stuff that you were doing is how we want to be. I like to say that mindset is not about flipping a switch, being like, I am healed, I am perfect now. Like, ew, we just used the word right there, right? But more about turning down the dial over time.
Oh, I love that.
Turning it down over time. Yeah. And that's something that I got from another author. I'm looking at my bookshelf right now because I cannot remember his name. Sean Aker from the book Soundtracks. He talks about a dial versus a switch. And some days that dial of your perfectionism is going to be turned up. You're going to be like, I'm not doing it until it's perfect. I need to work on this offer for longer. I need to prepare for this thing, which, by the way, Jess and I were both like, we didn't prepare for this interview. So you're welcome. You get in the authenticity. But some days that perfectionism dial is going to be high. And that might be because you're triggered in life by different things.
Yeah.
Maybe you're having a triggering conversation with your partner. Maybe people are like unsubscribing from your stuff or not showing up to your calls or whatever it may be that's triggering you. It can cause that perfectionism to turn up because the perfectionism is sort of, it's this thing that your inner child is using in order to feel in control.
Mm.
And that is what takes me to like your actual question
Yeah.
of like, what do we need to know about perfectionism? I think that was the question at least. Hey, good enough.
Let's go with it.
Okay, cool.
I
So
don't
what do we
remember.
need to know about? I don't either. What do we need to know about perfectionism? I believe that the first thing that we need to know about perfectionism is that it came from somewhere. And for most of us, we grew up in school, right? Like elementary school and then grade school where you started getting grades, right? And that happens to be during the imprinting phase of your life. So ages 0 to 7, sometimes up to 14 years old, you're in your imprinting phase of life where you're downloading all the information from the world around you. So in primary school, we learned that A's are good and F's are bad, right? And that's why Jess named Empower E, because there ain't no E.
You remember. That's awesome. We
Of
did.
course I
Yeah.
do.
We give the E+. Entrepreneurs deserve their own grade.
I've gone to Empower Live, DBE Live so many times. Of course I know this story. But yeah. So we're given grades. And for some of you out there, you might be like me and we're somebody who started failing school, or you might be like the person that I became out of safety, where you were getting straight A's and that's how you felt good. So either way, there's like kind of a situation there, right? That happens where we notice we should be doing well in order to be loved, in order to be safe, in order to belong in society. They tell you better get good grades, right? So I know Jess and I, we've always been like the high achiever type, right, Jess?
Oh, 100% recovering perfectionist.
Recovering perfectionist. So the first thing that we need to know is that you and I and everyone, we grew up in a system that taught us to be perfect, which is, again, a whole bunch of hullabaloo. I'm trying not to curse. So hullabaloo is our word for the day.
Read between the lines.
Read between the lines, what I'm saying right now. So that's important to know where it came from. We're really taught, in school, you go and you do a test and the answer is either A, B, C, or D, right?
Yeah.
And you're graded on your essays and you're told that there's a right and a wrong way. And of course, we love strategy up in here. Jess is like the queen of strategy. But the reality of it is that the strategy, you've got to trip over yourself, right? In life, you've got to trip over yourself. You've got to fail. And the only way to move forward is to fail forward and fail fast and take what Jess calls messy action.
Yeah.
And so I live by that now most of the time when my dial is turned down, and best believe my dial and my perfectionism turns up. But again, I think the most important thing to remember is that this came from somewhere and society taught you to be perfect, but it's not the reality.
Yeah.
I'm going to pause there.
Yeah, I love it. I love the visual. I'm such a visual person of the dial versus the switch, right? So the switch is like this expectation that it's supposed to be on or off. And one day is like, poof, I'm no longer living into this narrative that I need to be perfect and I'm worthy regardless, right? The dial is the ability to change the volume and sort of just like turn it down or turn it up. So my question, because what I feel as you're saying this as the comeback rate, as I called it, right? My ability to turn the dial has gotten stronger. I've gotten a little bit faster at being able to catch it.
Yep.
In areas that I'm more comfortable in, but I find for myself and a lot of my clients, and maybe this is you, the listener, when I'm stepping into something new, it's like the perfectionism dial is just automatically loud when it's new and it's uncertain. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so loud in here. And I find it harder to turn the dial down when it's something new versus something old. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know what? All my Jess-isms are coming out, and it's not even because I'm in front of you. It's because I use them constantly. But what is the thing that I was thinking? Hold on. I'm such a squirrel. I was literally just saying this. It's moving forward with messy action. It's moving forward with fear, right?
Yeah.
You're saying like, okay, I get into the room and it's new levels, new devils. That's what I was thinking. That's the thing that you always say. New levels, new devils. So yeah, when I do something new, I like to remind myself, okay, yeah, you're feeling that perfectionism come in. You're feeling that fear come in. You're feeling that lack of confidence, whatever it may be. You're doubting that this is possible for you. Okay, Hanna, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense because this is new levels, new devils. And then I kindly, most of the time, try to remind myself that this is cyclical. So me getting on this podcast right now, like I podcast all the time with people. I guest coach for Empower grads all the time, but like being in this room with you, I was like, oh my God, I better not mess it up. I hope I don't curse. I hope it's good. Right. And I'm like, girl, you were on a podcast yesterday.
Yeah.
Show up, be yourself. And I have to just remind myself, like, you have been here before.
Ooh, that's the thing. Even if we haven't, right? I hear someone in the car right now listening like, yeah, but hold on, take a deep breath. You have been here before. Here being fear, uncertainty, rejection, judgment, self-doubt, limiting belief, comparison. You have been there in those emotions and feelings before. It maybe just looked like a different act. It was a different person. It was a different scene. But if you're listening to this, you have been there before. And so I love this idea of sort of, you're almost validating your emotion. You're like, yes, Hanna, this is how I am currently feeling. And that's okay. So validation to permission to then, it's like acknowledging the elephant in the room, right? We're not going to pretend it's not there. So like, let me acknowledge this thing, because if I don't, then what happens to the monster under the bed? It gets bigger, right?
Bigger.
Yeah,
totally. And that's so real. And I think, this thing about the dial versus the switch is it really gives us permission to be human. Especially for us coaches out there, we end up trying to be perfect until we realize like, wait a minute, we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And authenticity is the best way to show somebody the road. But yeah, we really have to acknowledge, and having that mindset dial versus the switch says like, okay, yeah, I'm here. And the next part, like you said, is I've been here before. And I'll teach everyone listening, one of the biggest mindset tools that I have for myself and all of my clients. And like, one of the women who's in Empower right now, who's also in my membership, she literally put it in the chat yesterday, and it's called positive proof. And I have what I call a positive proof list. And so the positive proof list is a list of specific instances where I have moved past the fear, where I was scared out of my mind. I did it anyway. And then it was incredible. About the times when I've impacted people, about the times where I've showed up truly authentically me, and it was fabulous and fantastic and amazing. And all of these wonderful little instances, and they're categorized as well. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But first, I want to say that this positive proof list is important. And the reason is that when your dial is turned up on the fear, on the self-doubt, on the stuff, whatever it is, your mind is going nuts. And your brain, and I didn't make this up, this is like how the brain works. Your brain is always like a lighthouse for negative events. Let me prove it to you. At the end of the night, if you're anything like me and Jess, we're perfectionists, recovering overachievers, whatever, what do you think about? You think about the things you did wrong, right?
Yeah. Or the things you didn't do. Yeah.
About the things you didn't do. Exactly. But even if you had like 5 fantastic client calls, you're thinking about the one that was a little bit itchy, a little bit weird, right? Your brain is always looking for the negatives to keep you quote unquote safe.
Sure.
Once again, a hullabaloo, right? If you will.
That's going to be the title of the episode.
Some mindset hullabaloo. I can just see it now. But for real, so your brain is constantly looking for negativity and reasons to keep you quote unquote safe, right? You got to remember like caveman brain, like we were always looking for tigers,
danger. Yeah, perceived
exactly.
danger. And that's what the negativity is.
Yes, perceived danger. And so when your brain is turned up on the negative beliefs, the limiting beliefs, whatever it is, recognize that in that moment, your brain is going crazy. And it's really hard in that moment to say, okay, calm down, Hanna, calm down. Remember that one time, remember that one time, remember that one time. It's possible. It's very possible for you to calm yourself down and think about those impactful moments. But instead of doing all that work when you already don't feel good, I encourage people to keep a running list.
Like actually in their phone?
Literally like in your phone. So I'm literally going to open my phone right now. I'm going to my notes thing. I'm going to go to my general notes, and I'll show Jess here. Positive proof list.
Oh, look at it with the little brain emoji.
It's got a brain, a sparkle, a butterfly, a little rainbow and a little growth thing. So
This
literally
is exactly how I categorize you.
yes. Right. I know. I remember when I was doing my brand colors and you were like, where's the color? Like, what is going on?
What
And I'm like,
happened?
I don't know. But anyways, so I have categories in here. I am good enough. Another category in here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm faking it. They're going to find me out. That's truly this soundtrack, this belief that rolls around in my head, sometimes subconsciously, unless I'm aware of it. And so
would you be willing to share a story or an example from that second category that you just listed of a time in your life that you actually were doubting that you didn't know what you were doing and they're going to find out?
I'm a mindset coach. What in God's green earth is that? Literally, I'm unsure. I'm just kidding. I'm more sure now since going through Empower and just literally taking forward action. But like, what is mindset coaching, right?
Yeah.
And so we live in a world where we came from families of doctors, lawyers, business people, whatever, dentists. Your dad's an eye doctor, right?
Yeah.
Am I calling? Yes, your dad's an eye doctor. So we came from that world. And so for me to be like, hi, I'm a mindset coach is like, I'm sorry, no. And I'm also not certified. And I want everyone out there to know that. And I specifically did not get certified. Like at this point, I'll get certified when I find the right one.
Yeah.
But it is such a
hullabaloo.
It's a hullabaloo, first of all. And second of all, for me to get certified would have been me telling myself, you need more in order to do what you want to do. And that is a hullabaloo statement. So I had to move forward without a certification and show myself that I didn't need any more than I currently have. And I impacted people. And then I learned more and I impacted more people. And then I learned more from those folks and other coaches and you and my mindset coach. And I implemented that. And then I helped even more people and my prices increased. So all of this to say, like, first of all, you don't need a certification or anything else in order to be worthy and to help people. Second, yes, the reason I feel like I'm faking it, right? Subconsciously, like we're not gonna have a conversation right now. I was like, this is the reasons I feel like I'm faking it. Cause it's not that. It's this subconscious little devilly on the shoulder thought that comes up like, you're not good enough. What do you know? You don't have a psych degree or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And that's so common. So I think that's where that really comes from for me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm faking it. Oh, this is another good. I grew up with a big sister. So
we're going to talk about her in a second.
Yeah, she was right and I was wrong, right? So that definitely is something that follows. I love my sister so much.
That story's still here.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Right. Because I learned that when I was like, 7, when she was my big sister and I followed her around and was like, yes, Bridget, I'll do what you do. And yeah, if we fought, she won. So that's where and you have those stories too, listener and Jess and me, and we have these little stories. And if you've gone through Empower, remember the timeline exercise that we did. And I have my clients do something really similar. That exercise will help you kind of unravel these stories that you have about yourself, whether it's I'm not good enough or I'm faking it or I should be shamed for or I'm guilty.
Yeah.
They stop you in your tracks unless you have a tool to help you turn down that dial.
Yeah.
Positive proof list. I've got all of these instances.
Wow.
So that when I feel like I don't know what I'm doing and they're going to find me out, like I have this one right here. I'll just like literally read one. I held a visualization meditation at my membership. By the way, I'm the most hyper person you'll ever meet. Never thought that I would meditate, let alone teach a meditation. So I feel like an imposter when I do it. So I have on here, I led a visualization meditation at Evolve, which is my membership, and I had no script at all. I just closed my eyes, put my hands on my heart and spoke. Somebody spoke up during the call that I made them tear up. And in the morning, another person told me that she was tearing up and had chills the whole time. And when I posted on Instagram, another person told me the same thing. And I'm right now remembering how impactful that was for me to just show up as myself in that moment. And I'm reminded, okay, I have proof.
Yeah.
I don't need more.
And imagine, right? We get so caught up in this loop of self-doubt and perfectionism that we stop, we let it paralyze us, and then we don't show up at all.
Yes.
And what we always talk about, if you have a solution to a problem, it's your responsibility to share it with the world, blah, blah, blah. But also
facts.
Imagine you didn't show up and do that, even though it was scary, even though you felt like an imposter.
Right.
And those three people didn't have that experience and they weren't affected by that. But then to take it into the ripple effect, what happened in their life that day?
Right.
Did they smile at a stranger? Did they hold the door? Were they more patient with their kids? Like, how did that ripple into
Right.
their lives? All because you decided to show up despite the fact that you were scared. So I love it. I want to turn slightly. I feel that these are related, kind of like a sister. All right. So
Yeah.
a lot of people in our world and in who listen to the show know who your sister is. So Bridget Carroll, also known as Bridget Mallinson now, she's married. She is
Yeah.
the founder of Gut Personal. She's been on the show. She was a client of mine as well, first before you. We love her. We adore her. Hi, Bridget.
Hi,
So
Bridget.
I'm just so curious, right? You said like she always won. She's older than you. That's just kind of how it was.
Yeah.
Are there ever times she's not listening, don't worry. Are there ever times that you feel yourself comparing? You're both entrepreneurs running very successful businesses, very different businesses, and you're also very different women.
Oh
You
my
have a
God.
lot of
Yeah.
similarities, but like super different. She's now building a company to sell with a physical product. She's sort of stepped back from so much of the coaching. You're really in the coaching, events, podcasts, speaking, all of that. Do you ever find in either direction that there is just like a natural comparison that comes up as sisters?
My God, yes. That would be the best way to describe my answer is, of course I do. Because once again, I'm a human. And a lot of these things about comparison and like, we're like, oh, well, don't compare. Oh, well, you don't need to be jealous of other people. Oh, well, you don't need to be afraid. Well, I am, right? And that's because we're all human. So again, I want to let anyone off the hook who experiences comparison, jealousy, anything like that, or self-doubt, fear, lack of confidence. Congratulations, you've arrived. You're a human.
Woohoo, join the club.
Yeah. And also, I just thought of this off the top of my head. The only reason that I would be comparing myself to my sister or that you would be comparing yourself to somebody else is maybe because you're doing something in that field. At least it is for me, right? This is what's coming up. Like the only reason I'm comparing myself to my sister is because we're in a similar field. And the only reason that we're in a similar field is because I took action to create a different life.
Yeah.
If I was still in supply chain management, I wouldn't care that Bridget was coaching or was then creating this physical product as an entrepreneur because we would be in different spaces. So I think that's one reason I compare is because we're similar. And so if you're comparing to Jess, if you're comparing to me, if you're comparing to your other service industry people or folks that are coaches or whatever it is, it's like, okay, congratulations, you're doing something. And even if they're not, right, that's a whole different story. But yes. Absolutely. I find myself comparing. I forget what the question is, but I'm just.
No, that was it. Yeah, no, I just was looking for like an authentic answer and I knew you'd give me one.
Yeah.
Do you think that in your situation or other people, comparison also comes up from we're mirrors for one another. And so what we see in other people, we often see in ourselves, or maybe we believe is possible for ourselves. But a lot of times we don't have the roadmap to get there, or we feel stuck, or the perfectionism, or whatever it is, or our circumstance in our life makes us feel as though we don't have the control to do the things to get to the place. But like you see that someone else has it, or they're doing it. And it's sort of like that envy and comparison bubbles up because you're like, I know I could do it too, or I could do it better. Right. And it's almost this really interesting place to be. I'm having an epiphany now because we always talk about borrow the evidence that you can do it. Right. If you don't have the evidence in your life, look for someone else that already is doing it and borrow that evidence until you can make it true. And so what if we reframed when you start to feel the feelings of comparison or envy, jealousy, and you just looked at it and you're like, oh, wait, what if this is just proof that it's possible?
Yeah.
And use that as your guiding light, right? Like, wouldn't that be fun?
And, my friend texted me the other day because she asked me like how something was going in my business and we're both coaches. And I told her like, oh, I just had a big win, whatever. And she was like, oh, that's so amazing. You're giving me again, proof that if you can do it, I can do it. And she just shared with me, like, I'm feeling a little jealous, but thank you for that proof.
Wow.
And I think that's huge. Jealousy is one of those things that like, we don't even want to talk about. Like it's so hard to admit feeling jealousy or feeling that comparison, but yeah, in the end, can it be like lighting you up, lighting a fire under your butt, if you will, that like, I can have that too. And like, it's always kind of a flashlight to me of like, oh, I must want that. So either my inner self, like my highest self wants it, or my ego wants it.
Yeah.
And I think we get to discern between those two as well. So if Jess is going and she's deciding that she's now working Monday through Thursday, which I know you did at one point, and you took Friday through Sunday off when you guys were in the RV, and I'm jealous of that. It's like, oh, that's a clue, a shining light that I want a life like that.
Yeah.
Or if you see maybe somebody out there on the internet who has like a $5 million home that you would love to have, especially as like a coach and making it in that way. The other side of this is that I think that we need to ask ourselves this very important question that I learned on a podcast recently. And it is that, what do I believe that person has that I don't?
Yeah.
And if we talk about that $5 million house, okay, do I believe that they have more joy? Do I believe that they have more peace? Because if we get down to the root and the essence of what we believe that they have that we don't, we can create more of it where we're at.
We do have.
Yeah. And of course, like, yes, money does give us resources. And that it's so true that it can help us create more joy and more peace. And like, we are unapologetically getting rich, like best believe.
Yep.
And at the same time, don't let that comparison or jealousy stop you from being joyful now, being happy now, because when you are joyful and you are happy right now, and you are content without being stagnant, right? That creates you to take more action, right? Because your beliefs become your thoughts, feelings, decisions, actions, results. So if your thoughts and feelings are saying like, okay, I'm jealous, and you stop yourself and you say, I feel like maybe they're happier than me, ? Okay, I can be happy right now. I can find joy right now with what's in front of me. Then those thoughts and those feelings allow you to make better decisions, actions, and eventually results. So
it's like my favorite thing to talk about. Everybody thinks that thoughts become
vibes.
things, and they don't. You have to start with the belief. No, really. It's like, let's get under the moldy flooring first. We can't just lay new beliefs or new thoughts down with Post-it notes on the mirror. It doesn't work that way. If you don't believe that it's true. And we always talk about the be, do, have, and I know you teach that as well. And we've talked about this on this podcast, but this idea of, we collectively humans often think that when I have the $5 million house, when I have the abs, when I have the partner, when I have the whatever, then I will feel XYZ, which will give me the being or the essence. But like you're saying, just because I don't have a $5 million house, Mike and I don't. Newsflash, we don't. However, if I sat down and went to the core, what you said, of the essence of what do I believe that person has, or how are they being, or how do they feel? And maybe it is that they're not stressed about money, or they have the fulfillment or whatever. It's like, well, how can I be in my life right now? Right. How can I bring those emotions into my life right now? People often think that money, it's like, oh, but it creates all this freedom and you can go do all these things. And it's like, well, you can do some of those things now. Yes, you might not be able to charter a private yacht, but can you go take a hike, which is free, which is going to give you the freedom that you think you're like waiting to get to this next level before you reward yourself with this thing that is so simple. So how can we really just like live into that now? Which I love it. I love the whole model. I had a direction I wanted to go. Oh, I know what it was. First and foremost, I have to publicly admit my jealousy that I have with you and Bridget both. So I will just publicly put it out here. You both have way better natural strawberry blonde red hair than I ever could box dye. So I put it out there. I said my piece. I've been working through it for a couple of years, but
I never knew that your hair was boxed. I was like, gingers. And you were like, fake.
Yeah, I've been a fake red for about 15 years or something. So different variations of red, just ultimately trying to live up to you and your sister.
I love it.
All right, let's chat. You said before, new levels, new devils. We all have heard this concept before. It's just like at every corner, there's going to be a new challenge. And I love to think of life, especially building a business, as a video game. And every board of the video game, as you kind of get past one board, you get to the next board. Newsflash, if you didn't know, spoiler alert, every board has a challenge. There's a monster, there's a pit you got to jump over, there's someone going to eat you, shoot you, whatever. You just, every board has a challenge. And then you just get to the next level, and guess what? There's another challenge. And it's really the same thing. It just appearing in a different way. Right. What would you say your current devil is? What is your newest devil?
This is good. I like this question. Okay. So my current devil is energy.
Ooh,
Having enough energy, and that comes with like my current health struggles.
sure.
I deal with a lot of, I don't have a lot of energy, and I also get headaches.
Mm.
So my time to be, I hate the word productive, but
Productive.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Ugh.
But my time to get shit done, to put myself out there, to think of things that I want to say, or to be organized, or to create my new offer, to market my new offer, my time is less than a lot of people. And there we go, comparison, right? So now we see these little nuances coming up here that I could dig into myself. But it's great. It's great that I have this challenge. And of course, I'm saying that because I'm in my right mind. Some days I cry that my energy is poor, right? So thanks for creating this beautiful little space that I can be in a good energy about all my shit. Heck, but it's a good thing that I'm experiencing this devil. And I'll tell you why. This is good because it reminds me that I need to be really careful and aware of when I'm spending too much energy doing something that could be quick, right? And this comes back to perfectionism.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, we're on the same wave. Us gingers, redheads over here. We're just vibing on the red tones. But truly, right? Like, it's when people come to me and say, Hannah, I'm so busy, like I can't create a business. I can't put myself out there. I'm like, red alert. Somebody's doing probably perfectionism. We got to dig around for that, right? We got to be really honest with ourselves. And sometimes we don't want to be honest because then we're going to find, oh, I'm being a perfectionist. I need to pull back the reins. I need to send it right now. I need to put that offer out there, whatever it is. So this is such a good challenge for me because I don't have even 5 minutes to, I do have 5 minutes to prepare for this conversation with Jess and I, but I decided not to because A, I don't need to.
Yeah.
And B, I don't have the energy. So not having the energy has put me in this container of show up right now. And, I've been going live this week. I'll think of something and I'm like, I'm going to go live right now because I was in the Empower alumni call. Actually, I wasn't in it. I did the recording. If you don't know, we have alumni calls for Empower. They're so freaking helpful. I love them. And another one of your clients was talking about how she goes live. And so I decided I'm going to do that. And I thought, another thing to add to my list, BS. The last 2 days, I've gone live for about 8 minutes each time. I thought of something I wanted to share. I pressed live and I went for it. No script, no bullets, went for it. How much energy did that take? Very little, as long as I don't overthink it and then overthink it some more when I'm done. And that takes practice.
Yeah, the overthinking it is more exhausting than the doing it. I feel like it's a lot of kids and maybe some adults too. The anticipation of going to get a shot at the doctor is far more cortisol inducing, stress inducing than the actual shot. Like there have been so many times where you see it in a TV show or you're a parent or whatever. And again, even yourself as an adult, you're like so worried about the thing. And then they give you the shot and you're like, oh, I didn't even know what happened, and you're like, but for so long ahead of time, you're so stressed and worried about it.
Yes.
So the anticipation and the overwhelm and the overthinking of it is oftentimes, in my experience, worse than just kind of ripping off the Band-Aid and doing it. It's like, you're also, I'm sure, I think at this moment, choosing the time that you're feeling excited to go live rather than like having it scheduled on the calendar at an exact time that you might feel resistance. And so for me, this is like a really great way to sort of step into something. If it turns into something you want to be more consistent, you can totally put it on the calendar and everybody knows at 9 a.m. you're going live. But right now it's like, let me just start. Let me just get my feet wet. Yeah.
Yeah. And you said right now, let me just start. And I think this is really good because, okay, you all, I'm sure you know this by now. Jess is the queen of strategy and she knows every freaking nook and cranny of like how to build a business. And I know the things that she knows because I'm her student. And do I do them all? No, because it doesn't make sense for me to do them all right now. A lot of them I have to just skip. I have to like not look too much into it because it gets me worked up. For instance, when we first started, like the whole ideal client thing or like mindset being fluffy, I was like, ignore it, move forward. Right. And so, yes, it would be great if I had it scheduled on my Instagram and everyone knew Mondays at 9, I go live, and it had a little title of what I was talking about. But for me right now, that does not make sense. But what does make sense is for me to keep putting myself out there. So, like just says, messy action. I need to just go for it. And like you said, over time, maybe it becomes this thing where, okay, now it is in alignment for me to have it scheduled because I have more energy or whatever. But don't stop yourself from moving forward just because you can't do it perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you know this, but I just didn't do the last modules of Empower because I didn't have this. I know, I'm so sorry to break it to you right now,
Hold
but
on.
it's true.
Number one, you still passed the class. Number
Yeah.
two, you live to tell the tale. And number three, you have a thriving business. I don't even know
Right.
how. What?
Right. I know. And I
You
get
get an E.
yeah, I get the E plus. So that's a thing. Like we say, like, oh, I want to do this thing. Like I want to do a podcast, or I want to put this new offer out there, but I know that I have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, like so many things, like 25 things to make it perfect. How about just putting it out there and do what you can?
Yeah.
And then the next time you'll add in a little more, and the next time you'll add in a little more.
Yeah. Well, I remember even when you started your podcast, it's the thing that holds so many people back. It's like, I'm not going to be able to have all those like fancy audiograms to post. And like, I don't know how to edit them, and I can't put out 5 episodes a week and write show notes. And I don't have a fancy microphone, and I don't have all the money. And I'm like, I remember when you started your podcast, it was like the scrappiest, respectfully, the scrappiest of scrap. Like you'd sit on the floor in like a closet and you'd have like a shoebox with the like regular iPhone earbuds that you're wearing right now, no fancy microphone, and you're just like talking into your phone, recording it, and like you just put it up, and it's like, and then here you are 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years later, and it's like, yeah, now you have a really cool microphone, and you've grown the podcast. And I don't just mean you, Hanna, I'm saying collectively we've all done this, right? And so the idea of just start messy, it's meet yourself where you're at. Just meet yourself where you're at. Like, what's working today is you jumping on live with no plan. And over time, it's a muscle. It will get easier. Where you will be, where you're going to meet yourself where you're at, is going to be further along, because all of the motion and momentum and effort is going to move you along. If we're talking about a linear line and you're on point A right now, you're meeting yourself at point A, and you're like, I'm just going to do a random live when I feel like it, when I have the energy, and that's what it's going to be. And I can promise you, as you do them, you're going to start to move to point B, and then C, and then D. And then one day you're on point L, right? And you're like all the way down the line, and you're like, oh, well, like I've been doing these consistently, and like, this is really easy, and it doesn't feel like a stretch anymore. And I actually have more energy. And so now I'm just going to make it a thing, and I'm going to make it more consistent, and, create an opt-in and do all these things for it. And it's just like, yeah, you just got to meet yourself where you're at.
You really do. It's so freaking true. And, I'll tell you the truth about the podcasting thing is that because I did meet myself where I was at, and by the way, I needed a little kick in the butt. I was in Hawaii, living in Hawaii during COVID when I started the podcast, because a friend of mine was like, oh, you want to start a podcast? I said, yes. He said, well, why don't you start? And I said, well, I don't have a fancy microphone. He's like, that's so great, because I have a whole setup in my house. I didn't know if I told you, but I'm a musician. And I was like, you didn't tell me that, or I wouldn't have brought this up, my friend. So I was forced into this. I mean, I chose it, right? I could have made up another excuse or just said no, but I chose it. And what happened was that even though it was scrappy, and yes, I mostly podcasted with my Apple like wired microphone thing. And I tell people all the time, like, the quality is not that different from my Yeti, first of all. But 2 really great results happened out of that messy action, where I had no intro, no commercials, no sponsors, no microphone setup, none of that, right? Is that number one, I got really good and comfortable at speaking. Long form content like we're doing right now. Like, tell you right now, I was not this good then. I know I'm very fabulous, but I was nervous. Okay. But action builds confidence. And so I kind of sucked at the beginning, and I was a little robotic. I didn't suck. People got impact, right? But
sure,
I was robotic. I was a little rusty. But I got over time so comfortable. And you know how we say earlier that I had that feeling of like faking it? The podcast helped me turn down the dial on the thought that I was faking it. Because my lived experience was being put out into the world. And I was like, wait a minute, that was powerful. And people are coming back and saying, Hanna, that was powerful. So number one, I got good at speaking because action builds confidence, right? And then number two, most all of my one-on-one clients, which are obviously like more high paying, right? And, group clients as well, which pay me a lot more if you get a lot of people in a group, we know that came from, yeah, I listened to your podcast religiously. They needed to hear me talk for like longer in order for me to be their coach. So this scrappiness led me to a lot of great results.
Absolutely. Well, and I think oftentimes the fear that we have, I was just listening to this on a podcast. It's like the fear that we have initially, let's stick with the lens of, coaching and digital entrepreneurship. We're scared to get on social media and put ourselves out there because we don't want to get judged, or like, what if someone says something? We don't want to start a podcast because, no one's going to listen, or we're scared of what people are going to say. But it's also like the flip side of the coin. The irony of the whole thing is that, like, you're right. The thing that you're scared of is actually true at the beginning. Like, there probably aren't going to be hundreds of thousands of people listening to your brand new podcast that nobody knows about. So
True.
What are you so scared about? It's like, would you rather 100,000 people listen to your podcast on the first episode, or like 3 people and one of them is your mom? Like, I would way rather get those kinks out at the beginning when it's scrappy and it's, no one's listening, no one's paying attention. Like, what a beautiful space to be in. All right.
That's so true.
Let's chat habits for a second. Everybody talks morning routine, nighttime routine, bookends, all this stuff. What are some habits that have changed your life the most? Because now you're grounded in an apartment, but the whole time I've known you for the past couple of years, you're quite the little nomad as well. And you've been traveling around in a van life and moving states since, I've known you for a couple of years. You've lived in like 4 states. Yeah. So, what are some habits that have changed your life that you love sharing with clients?
I want to share with you, before I actually share any habits, I'm going to share the number one thought pattern that I think is important. And it's that you don't need a habit to feel powerful. And you don't need a lack of habit to make you feel less powerful. So truly, you want to know what I did this morning? I woke up and let's remember that my energy is not so good, right? And I drank 2 glasses of champagne last night for my partner's 30th birthday. So anyways, I wake up this morning. I'm tired as all get out. We go downstairs. We make some coffee. And you know what I did is that I watched YouTube for like an hour. And like we paused intermittently and like have some conversations.
Hullabaloo.
Yeah, a bunch of hullabaloo. And
Can you believe it?
Yeah, hullabaloo. Me over here watching YouTube in the AMs.
For
I should be meditating. How dare I not do yoga? But seriously, like the worst thing that you can do is tell yourself, I should have this habit. And then when you don't do it, because A, you don't like it, B, you didn't have the time, C, you don't want to, then you make yourself feel bad for it. And again, your beliefs turn into your thoughts, feelings, decision, actions, results. So if you believe that you need to do a habit in order to be powerful, then you're telling yourself, if you're not doing it, you're telling yourself, oh, I'm not going to be powerful today.
Right.
So what you're telling yourself about those habits is honestly, in my opinion, more powerful than the habit itself.
Yeah.
So no, you do not need to meditate in the morning. No, you do not need to do yoga in the morning or even go outside for that matter. I like reading in the morning because it inspires me. Sometimes I like to go outside in the morning because that makes me feel connected. You might want to have like a slew of things that might make you feel better. And I remember Jess listening to you talk about habits inside Empower. And you kind of at that point had like a slew of different activities that you would potentially do in the RV, like pulling a card or meditating or whatever it is. But honestly, you might want to do something that just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
So if it makes you feel good and restful to watch YouTube in the morning, and truly that's what makes you start your day on a good foot, great, do that. It may or not be true for you, but yeah, I'm just saying.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I've shared my opinion on this because years ago I was like super strict morning routine to the minute. And that's what I would share with people on podcasts. And now I'm like, take what I want, leave the rest. It's like I have a toolbox and I'm going to go in and I'm going to take what I want for that day. And I go through seasons too. Like there'll be seasons of like really crazy intense, like not skipping it because it's on the to-do list, but like really enjoying meditation or really enjoying journaling or whatever that would be. Right. Do you have certain tools that you do love to kind of dip into in moments of the dial has gotten loud again? whether
Yeah.
that's comparison, self-doubt, limiting belief, judgment. When the dial gets loud, what are some of the tools that you have?
Yeah. Okay. So, number one thing that we all need to know for resilience is the people that are more connected to their spirituality are more resilient. That's studied. Brene Brown talks about it all the time. So when that dial goes up, right, like you're having a thing with resilience, you're feeling not resilient in that moment. And so however you can connect to your spirituality, that's a really good thing to do to amplify your resilience. So for me, I do go into nature, and I just, something about it just makes me feel okay. And that's all I need to know.
Yep.
If you feel connected to yourself, which by the way, I believe spirituality is your connection to yourself and your higher power, whatever that is. If you feel connected when you go play basketball at the rec, do that. If you feel connected when you go take pictures outside, do that. If you feel connected when you journal, when you meditate, when you do like ecstatic dance, when you go to the gym, whatever you need to do to connect to yourself and feel a little bit more woosah, then that helps you turn down the dial, because all of a sudden it's like, okay, that fear doesn't matter as much because now I'm connected to what's more important, which is like this tree. That sounds super, super woo-woo, but like,
No, I love it.
truly.
Yeah.
So I would say number one, like your connection to your spirituality, because that's proven to make you more resilient. That's science. Love that. And number two, I self-coach. And what I mean by self-coaching is like pretending that there's another person across from me. If you don't currently have a coach, this is a really, really good tactic. And even between coaching sessions, self-coaching. And one quick way that you can self-coach is like, take that thing that you're thinking, and you've got to be aware. You've got to be able to pause, be present, be aware. And you know how people say like, just be present. It's so important for you to just be present. You're like, thanks, Karen. Why? The real reason it's important to be present is because in the present moment, you can recognize your stuff, your BS.
Yeah.
And so in a present moment, if you can pause and say, whoa, what am I feeling right now? Like I can feel that I'm feeling overwhelmed, worked up, anxious. Why? And that word, why, is very important. That word, that question. And then you go a little deeper. I don't know, man. Just like all this stuff I have to do for my business is so overwhelming. And okay, what is all this stuff? Well, I got to do this. Why? Well, because, somebody told me on the internet I should do that. It's like, okay, so now you're thinking that just because someone says it, that you have to do it. And you're like, okay, yeah. But what if you could still do it and it could still work and you could implement that strategy later, right? Like we were talking about earlier with going live versus having a schedule to go live. So you've got to go deeper to figure out what you are believing. So in that case, maybe you're believing, if I don't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, whatever, the whole damn alphabet of things that I need to do, that I will not be successful, that it won't work, that I won't make money. You're believing that. It's not true. Go look at all the people in the world making money doing all sorts of hullabaloo, right? You gotta self-coach.
I love that.
That dial is turned up to figure out what you are believing.
Yeah. We did an exercise years ago. Shout out Amanda Bucci, one of my dear friends. She's been on the podcast twice. And we did an exercise with her where we were basically doing self-coaching, but we had to physically move from one chair to another chair. So you were literally playing the role of yourself in both chairs, and you would stand up and move over and sit in the other chair and sort of look back, gazing into nothing because nobody's there, but sort of look back at yourself. And it was basically to have these conversations with ego, right? Or id. And this self-coaching idea of like, let me go deeper, let me unpack the onion, all of that, or peel the onion, I should say. We don't unpack onions. I mean, I guess you can technically if you got shipped a box of them.
Yeah. You got a little co-op market situation on your front porch.
That's where I draw the line. I am allergic to onions. So
are you really?
Yeah, that's a hard no for me.
Very bad for you right now, but I love you. And I know you have great foods you eat otherwise, but it's so true.
But thanks to Gut Personal.
Yeah, thanks to Gut Personal, I can eat onions. All right, cut this part for Bridget. Put that in the marketing. Thanks to Gut Personal. Yeah, but it's actually true. I couldn't eat onions or garlic for like
you too?
Time. Yeah,
it must be a redhead thing.
Yeah, it's just us natural gingers over here.
I love it.
We're very bloated and very red.
I know, bloated and red, what dreams are made of. I could talk to you all day. I feel like I say that at the end of every episode. I should come up with something different there, but truly I
That's
could. I
true.
mean, we didn't even prep, like you said, for this one because I knew the conversation was just going to be organic and easy. So
Easy.
before we get into some rapid fire, how can
Ooh.
people find you, work with you? Who do you actually help? What do you actually do? Because we didn't get into that, the nitty gritty. So what does it look like working with you? What do you have going on? What fun things do you have? What do you want to tell people? Pimp yourself out.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, what's up? Hello, I'm Hanna Carroll. Didn't do that part at the beginning, but we're here now.
So I lived in
I'm
an
Hanna.
ambulance. I skateboard. I snowboard. I'm super
Yeah,
cool.
really. Yeah,
I mean,
let's
pretty
start
much.
there. Let's start there, honestly. Because I am a business person, but my life is important to me. And I live in San Diego. I live in the sun. I've dreamed of living here since I was 15. I lost that dream at one point because Seattle looked real good. So I lived in Seattle. I lived in Colorado. I lived in
It's not sunny in
Hawaii.
Seattle. No one told you that.
No, it's not. It's not. So yeah, I lived in we stayed in vans, we traveled. I live in San Diego now. It's amazing. I'm grateful. I'm learning to skateboard at the ripe age of 30. I'm learning to surf. I get smashed by waves a lot just for fun. That's connection right there to spirituality. And I'm a mindset coach. And specifically, I'm a career mindset coach. So I help people get unstuck and I help them make money doing something that they actually love. I help a lot of entrepreneurs get started and go through pivots. I know we love that word here, go through evolutions, if you will. I'm a huge Jess fan, if you can't tell by now. And yeah, I help people get unstuck and pass their stuff. A lot of that stuff we've been talking about today, self-doubt, lack of confidence, perfectionism, whatever it may be. So, hey, what's up? Hello, welcome. If you want to find me on Instagram, best place to find me is on Instagram. And I am at Best Life by Hanna. Yes, like living your best life because I haven't thought of anything better lately. And I'm Hanna with one H. So Best Life by Hanna. If you are interested in working together, very easy. You could join my membership. It is called Evolve. It is mindful self-development for women who do want to create more and quote unquote achieve more in life, but want to do it in a more mindful way. So we're not achieving just to achieve. We're loving and we're being in joy and happiness right now. And we're creating even more joy and happiness for our future. So all great things. It's called Evolve and your first month is free.
Is that open at any time?
Open at any time, but there's
Incredible.
no better time than right now.
That's right. I couldn't agree more. And as someone who's seen the insides of all your different programs and products, I edify you to the fullest. You are incredible at what you do. So stamp of approval for anybody listening. Go follow Hanna. Like she said, Best Life at Hanna, no H at the end.
Yeah, Best Life by Hanna.
Best Life by Hanna. What did I say?
I don't know. Of and
with,
not sure.
For? I probably said hullabaloo.
Yeah, it's such a hullabaloo, whatever you said. Cancel, delete.
So just to get that right again, sorry, it's Best Life by Hanna with no H at the end. Okay.
That's right. Killed it.
Much better. And your podcast?
Podcast has not been active for some time, actually. I podcasted for a year, took a break from it. I'll probably come back. We'll see. We'll see. It's on the 0 to 6 month kind of track right now.
I love it. Cool. Yeah. You ready for some rapid fire?
Ready.
What is one thing that people get wrong about you?
That I'm an extrovert.
I thought you were going to say natural redhead.
No. Been lying this whole time. I'm an introverted extrovert.
Okay. I love it. You're a big reader. I love it. I am too. Are you currently reading something? If not, can you tell us one of your favorite reads?
Kristen Neff's Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff.
Oh, I haven't read that one. Incredible. And what was the one you told us about earlier?
Soundtracks by John Acuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Soundtracks.
Really. That one, soundtrack's great for overthinking.
Yeah.
Self-compassion, obviously great for self-compassion. So if you've got a strong inner critic like me, hit it.
Yeah, I love it. One of the things we didn't get into is your sort of serial job hopping, which I feel I've also done.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
Oh my God. I don't know. What did I want to be when I was a kid?
Because you went to like a top 20 business school, you job hopped, you were in the fitness industry, you did shipment stuff.
Yeah, I did do shipment stuff.
I nailed that, right? Shipment
Killed
stuff.
it. Yeah, supply chain. It literally was.
Got it.
I was up in there for sure. I don't know what I wanted to do when I was a kid. Oh, I remember. I forgot all about this. Thank you for that. I wanted to be a reconstructive plastic surgeon.
Wow.
So I wanted to help people that had like burns feel beautiful again. And it all comes full circle, right? Because every job I've ever had, I just wanted to help people feel powerful again. And I still do that. And I did that through being a recruiter. I did that through being a gym manager. I did that through being a fitness instructor, and in supply chain, I was truly the cheerleader of our entire office. So here I am.
That. And now you're a reconstructive mindset coach.
Exactly. I reconstruct
people,
that mind.
Reconstruct their beliefs and their thoughts.
That's right.
So good. I love that. $50,000 question. Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
Okay. If I were to cut you a check for $50,000 tomorrow that you had to use in or on your business, you could split it up. You could use it in one lump sum. How would you allocate that bad boy?
I have always dreamed of being at the head of a really long table of really dope women who are just so boss that I can't even step in their arena because they're so good at the things that they do. And I'd be good at what I did, which is empowering people and kind of like being like this crazy ringleader energy. So I dream of that, and it will come true one day. And at this point, I have one employee who I can't step in her arena because I'm just B to the S at trying to do back end, all that stuff. She's my Lauren, if you will.
Yeah.
And she's actually an empower right now. So that's really cool.
That's super cool. So is the table $50,000?
The people are $50,000.
Got it. I was gonna say, that's a really expensive table. I mean, no judgment, but that must be some like prime wood.
Yeah, I think I could find one for cheaper. So, it would be the boss women who I would love to pay a very pretty penny.
I love that. Yeah. All right. Last question before we go. As you know, because you've said it, we believe that we are always growing and evolving. And as we grow and evolve, so do our businesses, right? And our businesses are a reflection of us. So what is your next personal or business evolution?
I want to say, so on the wall behind me, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'd be able to see this.
There's a little note over there.
I have this note. Yeah. And it's like a 5x8 note. And on it contains all the dreams that I currently have, all of the different dreams that I have, from being a speaker to working with college students on their mindsets, from having an entire app. And if you steal my idea, I'll come after you. I'm just kidding. But seriously, I have so many dreams. And my current evolution, the one thing that I do want to say is my current evolution is to be present with the thing that's in front of me. I have a long history of fleeing when things get hard, and when they're quote unquote not working, or if I get scared. And so my evolution is to stick with the things that I'm loving right now, which is the membership. So that's where I'm at.
I love that. The practice of being present is hard. Especially nowadays with so many distractions and just so much going on and instant gratification and things and opportunities and noise and fingertips being just constantly busy. So the practice is really, truly, it's what it is. It's a practice. It's an everyday thing, practicing being present.
Couldn't have said it better. So true.
I love it. Hanna Carroll, my dear, I love you. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you.
All right. Well, if you love this episode, which I know you did, take a screenshot, share it out on social media, tag Hanna at Best Life by Hanna. Yeah. You're just going to say hullabaloo. We'll know we'll know you listen to the episode. I don't know how to spell it. Figure it out yourself, but go ahead and tag Hanna at Best Life by Hanna. Tag me at I am Jessica DeRose. Let us know what some of your takeaways were so that we can keep bringing you incredible episodes like this. We'll get Hanna's information into the show notes so you can go find her, stalk her, and connect with her. And, that's it, my friends. As always, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.